Varnok's crucible was no place for the faint-hearted. A twisted mockery of a world, the arena stretched endlessly under a thick, roiling sky, a battlefield where bloodshed was the currency of survival. The massive, jagged metal spires rose like steel fingers clawing at the heavens, their shadows casting an endless pall over the scarred ground below. The sands were stained with the history of countless battles, each grain a testament to death, each footprint an echo of violence. It was an intergalactic death pit designed to entertain the Dominion, the brutal alien empire that had conquered and enslaved entire civilizations. Prisoners, forced into combat, fought not for freedom or even survival. Victory was a rare prize, one reserved for the few who could break the endless cycle of death. But even they never left. There were no victors in the Crucible, only survivors, and their survival was just another act in a grand performance watched by millions across the stars. The roars of the crowd were deafening, a chorus of alien voices reverberating through the arena like a wave crashing on a shore. Blood steamed on the ground, sizzling in the hot sun as it spilled from the fallen, alien and prisoner alike. Every moment, every breath in the Crucible was weighed with the threat of death. Yet survival wasn't the endgame. It was the show, the spectacle that kept the audience entertained, the death toll rising with every passing minute. And it was on this stage that Reed Halverson, the first human ever to be captured by the Dominion, would make his debut. Reed awoke to the harsh screech of metal against metal, the sensation of weightlessness pulling at his limbs. His head throbbed with pain, his mind struggling to piece together fragments of the events that led to his current state. He could feel the sterile, cold surface beneath him, the scent of alien alloys and synthetic air filling his nostrils. Slowly, he lifted his head. The ship he was aboard, a Dominion dropship, was a hulking beast of black metal and flickering lights. He was strapped to a chair in a dimly lit compartment, surrounded by towering insectoid creatures with glistening chitinous exoskeletons and piercing, multifaceted eyes. His heart pounded, his throat was dry. "Welcome, Terran," one of the creatures hissed in a language Reed didn't understand, though the tone left little to the imagination. "You are the first human." A wave of panic crashed over Reed. He wasn't a warrior. He was a combat engineer, trained to build, not to fight. Yet here he was, unarmed and surrounded by alien guards. They had come for him, and in doing so, had proven just how far the Dominion's reach stretched. Earth had fallen, its defenses shattered in the blink of an eye. The stars had taken it from him. And now he was nothing but a spectacle, a human among a million aliens in a fight he didn't choose. The cold, sterile walls of his cell felt like they were closing in on Reed as he walked toward the prisoner roster displayed on a glowing screen. His fingers trembled as he scrolled through the list, his eyes searching for one word: human. The screen flickered with the names of various species: Valkyrians, Zelthar, Grithians, but not a single entry for Earth, not a single human name. Reed's chest tightened. Panic gripped him. He was alone. The Earth he had known, the family and friends he once had, were now nothing more than distant memories, burned into the backdrop of a war long lost. To the Dominion, he wasn't a prisoner to be respected. He was just another creature, another bug in their endless extermination spree. He couldn't believe it. He was the last human alive. He ran his hand over his face, trying to quell the wave of grief, but there was no time for mourning. If he had any chance of surviving this place, it would come from somewhere other than his memories of Earth. No allies, no hope, just Reed, the last Terran, standing alone on the edge of the galaxy's cruelest stage. The gates of the arena slammed open, sending a gust of hot wind and dust swirling into Reed's face. He stumbled forward, the cold metal floor beneath his boots vibrating with the energy of the crowd's cheers. The roar of alien voices thundered around him, drowning out all rational thought. Before him stood 13 creatures, each more menacing than the last. One was a towering, hulking brute, its body covered in thick green scales, while another looked like a floating jellyfish, its translucent body shimmering with an eerie light. Reed swallowed hard, knowing that these were no ordinary fighters. They were killers. Reed wasn't a fighter. He didn't have their strength or their agility, but he had something else. He had ingenuity. He had the tools at his disposal, the same tools he'd used to build, to create. He wasn't going to win by sheer force. He wasn't even going to try. Instead, he moved quickly, setting traps, redirecting power lines to create deadly currents of energy. The arena's environment became his weapon. One by one, the creatures fell. The crowd went wild, but Reed wasn't done yet. He wasn't just surviving, he was fighting back, using his mind, his knowledge to disrupt the system. In the distance, Warlord Raksoon watched, his yellow eyes narrowing. After the dust of the arena settled, Reed stood among the bodies of his fallen foes, his chest heaving with exhaustion. His hands were bloody, his body battered, but there was a fire in his eyes. He had done it. He had defied the odds. From the shadows, a figure approached, a creature with a long, sinuous body covered in emerald green chitin. Its sharp mandibles clicked as it walked, its alien intelligence obvious in the sharp glint of its multifaceted eyes. "You used gravity coils like a blade," the creature spoke, in a calm, calculating voice. "That's not how you're supposed to fight." Reed wiped the sweat from his brow, his eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" The alien's smile was almost imperceptible. "I am Grix, strategist and tactician. I see potential in you, Terran." Reed frowned. Was this another trick? Another Dominion agent? But there was something in the alien's eyes, something that seemed to recognize Reed's struggle. "We should talk," Grix said. "If you want to survive here, you'll need more than your wits. You'll need alliances." Reed was cautious, but there was no time to question Grix. Survival was all that mattered now. Luma was unlike anyone Reed had ever met. Her skin shimmered softly, a delicate glow emanating from her as though she were made of the stars themselves. Her eyes held a quiet sadness, but beneath that, there was a resolve that matched his own. She was a healer, not a fighter, forced into combat despite her refusal to kill. Reed had seen her in the arena before, healing the wounded with an almost mystical grace. During one of Reed's more brutal matches, he had been ambushed by an alien mercenary. He was about to be struck down when a soft, glowing hand reached out, pulling the mercenary away with surprising strength. Luma had saved him. "You shouldn't fight," Reed said, voice hoarse from the pain. "You're not like them." "I'm not," Luma replied softly. "But if I don't fight, I die, and so does everyone else." Her words hung in the air, and Reed knew she was right. The arena was a cruel place, and survival meant more than just staying alive. It meant holding on to whatever humanity you could, even in a world where humanity was lost. Warlord Raksoon stared at the latest footage of Reed's matches. The human wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. His ingenuity, his ability to think outside the box, was disrupting the very foundation of the arena. "Humans were extinct," Raksoon growled, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "But this one doesn't know how to die." A dangerous smile crept across his face. Reed Halverson was a problem, yes, but he was also something else, a challenge. And in the Dominion, challenges were to be conquered. "Let's see how long you last," Raksoon muttered under his breath. The gates groan under the weight of what's about to come. The air smells of blood, sweat, and oil, a stench so thick it clings to your skin. The arena is massive, walls that stretch higher than any human could imagine. Hundreds of alien species fill the stands, their eyes wide with anticipation. Some are whispering, some are screaming, all are waiting. In the center of it all stands Reed Halverson, bruised, bloodied, but alive. His breath is shallow, His palms, sweat-slicked, grip the rough steel of his tools. A crowbar, a chain, and a broken knife. It's not the weapons of a warrior. It's the weapon of a man who's learned how to survive. Then the gates crash open. 30 monstrous gladiator beasts, grotesque creatures bred for slaughter, emerge, charging with ferocity. Their jaws drip venom. Their claws dig into the sand with a screech that could send a man to his knees. The crowd jeers, hungry for blood. The arena roars with the promise of death. But Reed, his mind racing, doesn't flinch. He sees each one for what it is, a weakness, a predictable pattern. He moves like a shadow, dodging, circling, laying traps. One by one, the beasts fall, screaming, burning, tripping on their own momentum. He uses their own force against them, collapsing scaffolding to drop them into pits, using gravity coils to throw them off balance. They aren't just fighting him, they're fighting the arena itself. The crowd falls silent, then a roar, first uncertain, then thunderous. They weren't expecting this. Reed didn't just survive, he made a mockery of their entire system. The smoke lingers. Alien blood stains the sand, steam rising from the scorched bodies of the fallen beasts. Reed stumbles, exhausted, covered in filth and gore. His muscles ache, his vision blurs, but he's still standing. He looks up at the crowd, their faces now a mix of disbelief and awe. For a fleeting moment, it's just him, the last human in the galaxy, and the voices in his head urging him to keep going. The silence in the arena grows heavy, suffocating. Reed's breaths are ragged. He's not a killer, he's not a soldier, he's just a man who refuses to die. Then, in an instant, the alien crowd erupts into wild, frenzied applause. It's not for victory, it's for survival, something the Dominion didn't expect from their captive. He's not just a gladiator, he's a symbol. His unpredictability, his ability to outthink, outmaneuver, has turned him into something far more dangerous. Not a warrior, a virus. In a darkened chamber, Warlord Raksoon watches the replays of the match, his mandibles twitching. His face is a mask of concentration, but inside, something gnaws at him. He's not a fighter, Raksoon mutters, staring at the footage of Reed turning the arena into a death trap for the beasts. He's a virus. His fingers tap the edge of the control panel, projecting images of Reed's face across the room. The ratings climb higher with every match. The Dominion's coffers swell. But Raksoon knows something is changing. The crowds aren't just watching, they're questioning. A human, alone, taking on an entire world's worth of gladiators? It's unheard of. The Dominion doesn't tolerate unpredictability, not in their games, not in their wars. And Reed is a problem that will not go away. Raksoon leans back, contemplating. If this human becomes a legend, he trails off, the implications clear. The rules change. The arena becomes a deadly obstacle course, designed not to test Reed's strength, but to break him. Gravity spikes erupt from the ground, cloaked mines litter the sand, automated drones whir overhead. Every move he makes is being watched, analyzed, predicted. But Reed doesn't just fight, he outthinks. He redirects power lines to trigger explosions. He uses the mines as weapons, turning them into traps for his foes. Every move is calculated. Every step he takes brings him closer to surviving. This isn't a fight, it's a puzzle, and Reed Halverson is the only one who knows how to solve it. And when the dust settles, once again, he's the last man standing. He didn't just survive, he broke the system. The next match is a nightmare. 50 genetically modified warriors, each more dangerous than the last. Reed stands at the entrance of the maze, his heart pounding. He doesn't have the strength to fight them all. He doesn't have the weapons to match them. But he has something else, the arena itself. The walls are lined with hidden tech, cameras, laser turrets, pressure points in the floor that activate traps. He moves swiftly, his mind working faster than his body, setting up traps and using the arena's tech to his advantage. He's not just in the maze, he's the maze's architect. One by one, the warriors fall. Some disappear into the shadows of his traps. Others are decimated by the arena's weapons, used against them by Reed's cunning. By the time the last warrior falls, Reed is covered in blood, his body battered, but his mind sharper than ever. The arena is no longer just a place of violence, it's a stage. Reed Halverson, the human who should have died in the first round, has become more than a gladiator. He's a symbol. The alien crowd, once jeering and laughing, now watches with a mixture of awe and fear. The Dominion has made a mistake, and they know it. Reed isn't just fighting for survival anymore. He's fighting to expose the cracks in the system. Aliens who once viewed him as a mere curiosity now chant his name, their voices rising in a unified roar. They don't just want him to fight, they want him to win. If one human can do this, what does that say about the others? The stakes are raised once more. Raksoon watches the crowd's growing adoration for Reed with increasing unease. He orders the final match, one designed not just to kill the human, but to break him. 100 foes, mechs, AI snipers, and a live broadcast to every Dominion world. Reed will fight until there's nothing left of him. But Reed doesn't play by their rules. He doesn't fight to win. He fights to break the system. As the final match begins, Reed isn't looking for escape. He's looking for disruption. His eyes scan the arena and a plan begins to form. Not just to survive, but to burn it all down. The countdown begins. The crowd holds its breath. Reed smiles. This time, the human doesn't just want to live. This time, he wants to end the game. On. The stars used to ignore backwater arenas like Crucible 9, but not anymore. Now, billions across Dominion-controlled space tune in. Not for the violence, not even for the show. They watch for the human, Reed. The cameras catch every moment. The way he outwits beasts 3 times his size, how he turns discarded metal into deadly traps, and most of all, the way he looks up at the sky after every match, like he's daring the stars to come down and try him. In taverns across Zenthari moons and slave pits buried deep in iron mines, people talk. Did you see him today? He used gravity against them, again. He's not supposed to win. The Dominion knows it and fears it. They bred the arenas for control, a place to break hope and entertain the masses. But Reed has become a glitch in the system, a human who doesn't play by the rules, a name whispered with awe and fear. And in far-off sectors, small riots begin, not because of warlords, because of one human, one who refuses to die. In the forgotten tunnels beneath the arena, Reed isn't just hiding, he's teaching. Whispers slither through blood-stained corridors. Reed, the human. Reed, the teacher. Reed, the one who broke the razor beast with nothing but a sharpened pipe. He moves through the darkness, finding those the Dominion forgot. A 6-eyed insectoid forced to clean blood. A mute telepath once broken by mental chains. A clawed brute who lost every fight yet refused to die. They become his students. Not of violence, of resistance. He draws maps with rust, mimics tactics using bones, turns hunger into focus, pain into purpose. Some don't believe at first. Some still dream of survival, not freedom. But the spark catches. In every whisper, in every stolen moment of training, in every alien who starts to see themselves as more than a pawn. Something is building, and it's bigger than Reed. They call it the graveyard, a junk heap of weapons long broken and dreams long dead. But to Reed, it's a forge. With scrap metal, melted wires, and stolen bits from broken drones, he shows them how to fight without fighting. Snares that rip armor, mirrors that blind drones, explosive traps from food waste and vent pressure. Each night, the fighters return to the tunnels. Each night, more join. Reed trains them not just to kill, but to think, to adapt, to survive by becoming unpredictable. He teaches strategy through games, risk through silence, morality through choice. Luma, the telepath, begins coordinating in silence. Brackar, the brute, learns patience.
Even the cold-blooded assassins begin to speak. And with every broken blade reforged, every silent nod of understanding, the Dominion's control cracks just a little more. Deep beneath Crucible 9, the air changes. Reed follows Luma past old gates and rusted stairs until they reach a forgotten chamber. There, humming faintly, is a sealed orb. Not tech from the arenas, not even from the Dominion. Luma says it's older, pre-Dominion, maybe older than that. The orb pulses. One moment it hums with warmth, the next it growls like a storm. It watches, judges. If too much
Chaos erupts in Crucible 9. It initiates... She pauses. A purge. Reed stares. Of what? Everything. Fighters, guards, the city above. A failsafe. If the Dominion loses control, the AI burns everything. They can't just fight. They must outthink even the past. And now, every move Reed makes isn't just for survival. It's against time. The tunnels grow louder. Fighters chant in whispers. Hope has weight now. But Reed knows the truth. One wrong step, and the AI will erase them all. No uprising, no freedom, just ash. Luma offers him a path. You can escape. I found a route. Alone. He looks at her, then at the others. Bruised, broken, but waiting, trusting. He remembers Earth, the silence after the bombs, the people who waited too long. If I run, he says, they all die anyway. He grips the rusted pipe at his side, the same one that killed his first beast. We fight, but smart. No heroics, no chaos. We win by thinking like humans. Luma nods. Then we don't just escape, we dismantle the cage. The Dominion announces it galaxy-wide, the final match. One human against machines. Sniper drones, war mechs, AI sentinels with adaptive targeting. The crowd roars, not for glory, but for blood. Billions watch. But Reed doesn't walk into an ambush. He walks into a trap he built himself. Walls collapse where they shouldn't. Magnetic fields go haywire. Drone signals fail mid-flight. Every trick he taught in the tunnels, he uses now. Every fighter he trained has a role, disguised, hidden, ready. The cameras broadcast it all. A mech turns and fires, only to explode from a redirected power conduit. A sniper drone crashes into its own ally. And Reed, bleeding but alive, climbs a tower of wreckage and screams into the sky. You built a system to kill us. We just hacked it. The feed cuts. Across star systems, silence. Then, chaos. The uprising has begun. The gates of Varnok's crucible groaned open. Smoke hissed across the blackened sand. Above, a bleeding orange sky cracked with electric storms. A stadium larger than cities roared with bloodlust. From insectoids to reptilian warchiefs, 10 billion beings screamed for death. Reed Halverson stepped into the inferno alone. Armor? None. Just a scorched leather vest, torn pants, and a bandolier of improvised grenades strapped to his chest. His boots sank slightly in the dust, stirred by the thunder of approaching nightmares. A swarm of biomechanical predators, drones rigged for kill missions, and armored beasts bred only to tear flesh. Reed stood still. The crucible watched. The crowd chanted for his bones. He breathed. And then he charged. Blades screamed through the air. Reed rolled beneath a flying construct, slamming an explosive into its underbelly. It soared upward, then erupted in flame. The blast chain reacted. The beast next to it collapsed, taking 2 drones with it. Reed used chaos like an artist used a brush. He pivoted, sprinted toward a collapsed mech hulk, vaulted its sparking remains, and ducked behind it as a swarm of shock drones ignited the ground he had just left. Shrapnel slashed his shoulder. He didn't flinch. "Come on then," he muttered. "Let's dance." The galaxy watched the lone human fight like he belonged on the battlefield of gods. While Reed drew every eye in the galaxy, movement stirred in forgotten corners of the crucible. Deep beneath the arena's surface, in a web of maintenance tunnels and forgotten data cores, a different kind of war had begun. Silent doors clicked open, control panels sparked, surveillance feeds flickered. Luma, a stealth-adapted cyborg, slid through the dark like a phantom. Her fingers danced across interfaces, unlocking prisoner sectors. Cells hissed open, arms reached out, rage poured free. In a server chamber, Bishop awoke. A rogue AI with a mind like lightning, Bishop had once overseen the Crucible systems. Now, betrayed and erased by the Dominion, he returned with a vengeance. His digital tendrils wormed through the code, corrupting targeting systems, redirecting turrets, opening gates that were never meant to open. From catwalks high above to sewage pipes below, allies moved, and the Crucible began to crack. Reed ducked beneath a plasma arc, then countered with a hacked pulse mine. The blast didn't just maim, it blinded two stalker beasts long enough for them to turn on each other. Blood and smoke filled the air. His ribs were fractured, one eye swollen shut. But Reed kept moving. "Pain's a good teacher," he growled. He lured a charging brute into a minefield he'd placed earlier. Makeshift traps crafted from broken drone parts and salvaged bone spears. Boom! The shockwave flattened the creature and cleared a path. Above him, prisoner sectors exploded into riots. One by one, cells rose. Armed with stolen rifles and sharpened shrapnel, the prisoners overwhelmed guards who had never known fear. Luma slit a commander's throat and passed his comms to a towering insectoid ally. Sector 7, clear. Sector 8, en route. Bishop silenced the alarms, looping security footage to hide their advance. The Dominion didn't even know they were losing. Yet. Explosions ripped through the Crucible's mech garages. Oil fires climbed like serpents into the sky. Warlord elites scrambled, screaming into dead comlinks. Bishop had jammed every channel. Panic replaced command. Turrets turned inward. Automated sentries mistook friend for foe. Fuel depots burned. Supply chains collapsed. In moments, the Dominion's well-oiled war machine became a screaming, blind beast. Reed used the chaos to flank a commander. One clean punch, one stolen sidearm. He left the body and kept moving. The rebellion was no longer a whisper. It was a roar. Smoke choked the tower stairwell. Every step up was a war. Reed's body screamed with every motion, but he climbed. And at the top, Raksoon, the architect of the Crucible, 10 feet tall, drenched in obsidian armor. His pulse axe hummed with hatred. "You should not have made it this far, human." Reed, coughing blood, didn't lift his weapon. He lifted a transmitter. "You made one mistake, Rak. You gave us a stage." He activated the broadcast. Across the galaxy, feeds shifted. No longer did they show gladiator slaughter. They showed prisoners rising, guards falling, the Crucible collapsing. Reed stared Raksoon in the eyes. "We didn't come to kneel. We came to end this." And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw hope instead of horror. Raksoon knelt, disarmed and broken. The galaxy leaned in, waiting for the final strike. Reed raised his weapon, then dropped it. Gasps echoed. Even his allies blinked in disbelief. "You expected a beheading," Reed said, his voice raw. "But we're not here to replace tyrants. We're here to break the chain." Raksoon stared, confused. "Why, spare me?" Reed stepped closer. "Because mercy takes more strength than murder. Be better, or be forgotten." And with those words, a legend was born. Not just of a human who survived, but of a species that changed everything. Smoke twisted through the ruins of Varnock, curling around jagged towers like ghosts refusing to leave. The arena, once the most feared battlefield in the galaxy, stood silent, its power grid fried and its massive screens now black. No chants, no cheers, only the groaning of steel and the crackle of small fires. Reed stood still, blood dried on his brow, his breath shallow. Around him, the floor was littered with shattered armor and broken chains. Above, Bishop's voice echoed through the arena's failing comms. All connections to Dominion High Command severed. We own the Crucible now. One by one, guards dropped their weapons. Some knelt, others ran. None resisted. In hidden bunkers and control rooms, prisoners, once slaves and playthings of the elite, emerged blinking into the open, eyes wide with disbelief. What had stood for centuries as a monument to Dominion cruelty was no more. And Varnock was only the beginning. By the time the sun set on the blackened horizon, 3 more arenas had gone dark. The 4th fell without a fight. The galaxy had witnessed something impossible. A human had survived the Crucible and turned it to ash. The fall of Varnock spread like plasma fire through dry oxygen. Systems once loyal to the Dominion stopped answering calls. Broadcasts of Reed's stand were replayed across space stations and smuggled into the darkest colonies. The illusion of Dominion invincibility, carefully built over centuries, shattered overnight. On the desert moon of Calvith, the Varnock garrison laid down their weapons before their own people could rise. On Drathix Prime, half the Dominion fleet turned on its own commanders. Even alien species long thought broken, like the Vokari and the Stone-Eyed Lur, rose in sudden revolt. They'd seen a single human tear down the walls of the strongest prison in existence. What excuse did they have for silence now? Betrayals sparked across Starmets. Commanders fled. Alliances frayed. What had been an empire of iron now became one of glass, and every fist that had once struck a slave now trembled with fear. Because if one human could break the Crucible, what could a united galaxy do? It wasn't long before ships arrived, some in peace, some with desperation. Leaders from fallen systems, rebel groups, and shattered species gathered around the ruins of Varnock. They begged Reed to take command, to lead them, to rule. "You defeated the Dominion," said Admiral Kor, his silver skin marked with old battle scars. "You've earned the throne." "Rule us," whispered a child from the Shia clans, "so we'll never be slaves again." Reed stood before them, wind stirring the cloak across his shoulders, still stitched with burn marks from the Crucible. His face was tired, his voice hoarse, but firm. "I didn't fight for a throne," he said. "I fought so no one would ever have to kneel again." Some were stunned, others inspired. A few grumbled about wasted power. But Reed didn't flinch. He turned away from the crowd, from the lights, from the adoration. He'd done his part. The galaxy didn't need another warlord. It needed hope. From the rubble, something unexpected began to grow. Grix, once a warrior bred for conquest, now sat at the head of negotiation tables, translating strategies of war into paths for peace. Luma, a former medic turned rebel, became the soul of recovery. Her touch healed more than just wounds, it mended trust. Camps became communities. Alien children played beside human engineers. Together, they formed the Core Assembly, a new council forged not by power, but by shared pain. Their symbol wasn't a sword or crown, it was a broken chain, fused at the center by starlight. Every council seat bore scars. Some wore them proudly, others quietly, but all remembered who had made their survival possible. Not through domination, but by proving another way was possible. No one saw him leave. No fanfare, no parade. One morning, his bunk was empty. His gear was gone. Only a small metal shard remained, melted from the Crucible gates, engraved with 3 words: "Never again, RH." He vanished like a shadow before dawn. But his name remained. Across space, children reenacted his battles with sticks and junk armor. Tyrants used his image in nightmares to keep their soldiers loyal. Freedom fighters wore his initials like fire on their jackets. Reed Halverson, just one human had become something more. Not a king, not a god, but a story. And in the end, stories are what last. The wind dances over golden fields beneath twin suns. A quiet world, somewhere far from where fire once ruled the stars. The soil here is soft, not because it always was, but because someone made it so. Once, this land echoed with screams. Now, it hums with life. A farmhouse sits low against the horizon. Wooden planks, old solar panels, rusted tech repurposed into tools of growth instead of war. Here, among the harvest drones and chirping skybirds, a child plays. No armor, no fear, just dirt-streaked joy and bare feet in the dust. Overhead, the stars are visible even in daylight. One shines brighter than the rest. Not a sun, but a broken satellite caught in slow orbit. It reflects light like a wound refusing to close. Inside the farmhouse, the air is warm with the smell of grain and old electronics. In the corner, an outdated holo player crackles to life, half from the child's curious fingers, half from forgotten programming. A blue shimmer forms mid-air. Static, then shapes, then chaos. Development. A single human stands in an arena built to break minds, the Dominion's crucible. Around him, a storm of metal, alien beasts, genetically crafted warriors, all rushing to end him. But he doesn't break. He moves like a flame in a storm, untamed and defiant. Blades snap, giants fall. Machines, proud and perfect, twist and scream under human fire. The crowd, once cheering for blood, falls silent. The camera holds on the human's eyes. Not rage, not glory, something colder. Purpose. Turning point. The child's jaw drops. This isn't a game. This isn't fantasy. The crowd in the holo, the scream of the falling towers, they all feel too real. The last shot, the human standing alone in the center of the arena, breathing hard, covered in ash and blood. And then, he walks away, not toward the exit, but through the walls of the system itself. The holo fades, the screen goes black. The child blinks, heart pounding, face flushed with questions, eyes wide like they've just seen a star born. Slowly, they turn to the adult behind them, their parent, who watched quietly from the doorway. Was he real? The child asks. Their voice isn't skeptical, it's hopeful. Development. The question echoes, not through the room, but across time, through generations, through systems rebuilt on peace bought with fire. Because the child isn't just asking if one man survived impossible odds. They're asking if someone could really matter that much. The parent walks over, kneels. Their face is older than their age, marked by years of silence, of rebuilding what was once shattered. But their eyes glow. Yeah, they say, voice a whisper wrapped in reverence. He was real. Development. He didn't want to rule. He didn't stay for medals. He vanished when the war ended. Said peace didn't need a throne. It needed memory. It needed you. The parent places a hand on the child's shoulder. He didn't fight for power. He fought so others could grow things with their hands, so people could dream again. He taught the galaxy to rise, not just humans, everyone. Closure. The child stares out the window. That broken satellite in the sky now seems different, like a silent watchtower. In the distance, other children run, in fields, in forests, on worlds once held by fear. And in the stories they share, in whispers before bed, in games under alien stars, the name echoes. Reed Halverson. Not a warlord, not a ruler, but a spark, a human, a legend, and proof that one voice, when raised in defiance, can light the entire galaxy.